Welcome to another episode of Custom Spray Mods supported by VG Auto Paints. Now in this video I'm going to show you how to patch up holes in your body panels. Okay, so why do you have holes in your body panels? Maybe you've cut out some rust and you need to patch up a hole, or maybe you've removed a spoiler or a wing from the back of your car.
Oh, dang.
Yeah, so if you've done that, you've got holes. In this case, we've removed the wing off the back of this car and we've got about 8 or so holes that we need to fill before we put the new wing on. So to fill those holes, I'm going to use a few things. Now the first thing I'm going to use is a paint called Por 15. Por 15 is a rust preventative paint. So it goes over rust or bare metal and it protects it from rust and stops the rust from ever coming back again. The benefit of that is it dries really hard. So we're going to use that, some fiberglass matting to plug up those holes. Then we're going to use some body filler, patch it up on the other side, then prime it, paint it and clear it, and that's it. Okay, so I've removed the wing from this boot lid. Now I need to fill all the holes that's left over. First I'm going to sand it with some 80 grit sandpaper. Alright, so I've got these holes in here that are too hard to reach with sandpaper and sand in my hand. So I've put a bit of sandpaper on the end of this socket extension and taped it up, and I'm going to sand it like that, and then that will help the fiberglass and that special paint stick. So yeah. Just put some sandpaper on the end of an extension and you'll be right. Now before I start patching up the hole, I'm just going to turn the panel around and drill the hole a little bit using this Christmas tree drill bit. That's going to taper the edge of the hole and allow my filler to sit over the hole a bit better, and it'll be a bit stronger. Before you start trying to patch your hole, it's important to put some tape over the back of the hole so that none of the product goes through and all over your boot lid or the panel that you're patching up. Now that the holes are all sanded, I can start doing my repair. I'm going to cut the fiberglass a bit bigger than the hole, then I'm going to use the Por 15 and brush it over the hole and the patch, and that's going to dry rock hard and allow me to put some filler on the other side later on.
Burning down the walls, we let the monsters in, and now we're running down the halls.
So I've already put one layer of fiberglass and paint on. Now I've let it dry for about half an hour to an hour, just until it's tacky. Now I'm going to put another one on just for extra strength. So yeah, we'll do that now.
Can you say that I disappeared? Can you say that I wasn't there?
Okay, with this stuff, make sure you wear gloves. If it gets on your skin, it never comes off. And the brush is dead now, so just chuck it out. So there are other ways to patch up holes in your body panels, and one of them is to use a welder, but that's not really DIY friendly. This method you can do at home and it's quite easy, and you don't need to have awesome welding skills. If you put too much heat into most panels, it's going to warp it, and that's going to cause more problems than when you've got the holes. So doing it this way is easy, cheap, and a great way to do it at home, so check it out. Alright, so we've patched up the holes with the fiberglass and the special paint. It's all dried up. Now we're going to flip the bonnet over and fill the holes from the top. So they're all patched up. Now that's something for the filler to sit on. We're going to use that to get those holes all level with the rest of the panel. Then some primer, paint, clear, and we're done. So let's do it. I said bonnet again. I already made a mistake, but I meant boot lid. Alright, so I'm going to sand these holes with 150 grit, then I'll be ready to put some filler in. It's pretty strong, look. Look, the metal's kind of bending, and that is kind of holding it. So, yeah. Yeah, so now I'm just using an air blower, and I'm going to blow out all the dust from the sanding, because you don't want that in there when you put the filler in. So we're going to put filler in here, make sure it's all clean before you do that. I've already sanded it with the 150 grit, and I'm ready to put my filler in once I clean it all up. Alright, so now we're going to put some filler in the holes. I'm using a fine filler, and there's a few different types of fillers you can get. Some are for filling big holes and some are for filling very fine holes and scratches. So I'm using that. It's a top stop, U-pole top stop. Basically just mix it like filler. So it's just a little tiny bit of hardener to a blob of filler, and then you mix it all up, put it in the hole, and then you can sand it. So I'm going to do that now.
that burn, so that I can look over at before me what is mine. Can you say that I disappeared? Can you say that I wasn't there for you?
So I'm putting the filler in and feathering the edges so it's not like a big blob. You want to make sure that the edges are nice and smooth because that makes it easier to sand. Doesn't have to look pretty, just has to fill the hole. Alright, so the filler is all dry. Now I'm going to sand it with 150 grit and a block. And the block is going to make sure that it's all nice and flat and even with the rest of the panel. So yeah, you can do that now. Yeah, so I'm rubbing my hand over that, can't fill the hole anymore. And just fill. Alright, so I'm sanding these this filler, and I like to just rub the panel and feel it, just so you can try and get an idea of how the filling is going. Like just rub your hand, get some dust, rub your hand over the repair, and you shouldn't be able to fill the holes at all. So yeah, right now I probably couldn't tell you where the holes are. So it's going pretty good. Okay, so we sanded these with 150 grit. Now we're going to sand it with 240 grit because the rule is you double your grits. So the next step up from 150 in sandpaper is 240. So I'm going to sand it 240. I'm just going to get rid of the 150 grit scratch marks. Then we will be ready for primer. Let's do it. Make sure that you really get all those 150 scratch marks. Because if you just put primer over the 150 grit scratch marks, then you'll see it in your clear coat at the end of the job. So yeah, then you'd have to, I don't know, do it again or just live with it. So make sure you sand all the 150 grit out. Okay, now I'm going to sand the area with 400 grit sandpaper. I'm just going to go a little bit bigger because now I'm going to put some primer. And if I get the primer on this shiny surface, then it's not really going to stick good. So I'm just going to sand it with a bit of 400 and then just get ready for primer. So yeah.
Disappeared. Can you say that I wasn't there for you when you went into hiding on the front steps of your porch? And I reflected on the memories, but I put out that torch.
So we've sanded it with 240 grit and we've cleaned it with wax and grease remover. Now it's time to put some high fill primer on the panel. That's just going to prime it and get the paint ready to go on, and it's going to fill in any fine little scratches that are on there from the 240 grit. So I'm using 2-pack, so I've got 2-pack high build primer. And before you start using this, you really have to make sure you give it a stir because it's got a lot of solids and filling property stuff in it, you know, and it can settle, so make sure you stir it like that, see? So we have to stir all that in so it's all consistent. So if you're doing this at home and you just want to use aerosol cans, then something like the U-Pole High 5 primer, it's a high build primer, and that's okay to use. You can use other brands of filler primer. 2-pack is the best because you put it through a gun and you can get a lot of product out there on the job. If you're doing it with aerosol cans, you can do it, but you just need to put a few more coats. So yeah, wait a bit longer between coats, put a few more coats, and you can get it done. Alright, so it's time to mix the primer. The primer is 4:1, so that's 4 parts primer to 1 part hardener, which comes with it. And you find the 4:1 mixture on your cup, and that will give you the correct mixture. I got a video about how to mix paint properly using a mixing cup, so check that out. I'll put the link up here, and yeah, you can just click on it and see how to mix paint. But for now, we're just going to do it from the cup, 4:1. So mix it all up, and now I'm going to put it in my spray gun. I'm using a 2mm spray gun. That means that the tip at the end of the gun is 2mm in size. Should say it on the gun. So I'm going to chuck the paint strainer on, put the primer in there, and then I'll be ready to go.
Can you say that I disappeared? Can you say that
Right, so we've got the primer down. We're going to leave it overnight, or for a few days, but overnight is pretty good. And then we're going to sand it and then put some colour and clear. Before we put the colour and clear, we have to mask it all off, take the number plate off. We can mask it around the badge here and the reversing camera, mask the rest of the car, then put some base coat and clear, let it dry, and then we can put the wing on. And then we're done. Alright, so we sprayed the primer, we let it dry overnight. Now I'm going to spray some guide coat and then sand it with some 400 grit wet, then 800, then we're ready to paint it. So let's do it.
That's what I'm looking for. That's what I'm looking for.
Okay, so I've sprayed the base coat over the repair and beyond that. It's important to wait 10 minutes between coats. 10 minutes after your last coat, or within 30 minutes of spraying the base coat, it's time to put the clear coat on. Spray at least 2 coats of clear if using a spray gun. If using a spray can, you need to spray about 5 coats. The spray gun is set for about 35 psi. Make sure you overlap your passes by 50% and try and get it on nice and wet.
Hey! So now can you tell me where you want to be in time? There's a million different places and a million different heights. I'll climb the tallest of the mountains, the highest place I find, so that I can look over and before me what is mine. Can you say that I disappeared? Can you say that I wasn't there for you when you...
Sorry, it's a funky song. Alrighty, so we had this WRX, ripped off the little Wang, that exposed some holes, so we had to patch them up. We used the Pour 15 and body filler, patched up the holes, primed it, painted it, and cleared it, installed a bigger Wang, and now it looks awesome. Yeah, so if you want to check out how to paint a plastic spoiler, I've got another video, check that out. It goes through all the steps, painting a spoiler and installing it on a Bootlid. Other than that, car looks good and the Bootlid looks awesome. So doing it this way, save you a bit of money, it's a bit easy, and you can do it at home, and job's done. So yeah, thanks for watching. See you next time.
Yeah, got into a big go-kart accident, lost one of his nuts.
Oh wow.
It almost killed him.
I know a guy that has one nut.
Yeah, I went to school with a guy that was born with one.
Yeah.
Maybe I should just leave that conversation in the video because it was pretty funny. What do you reckon? The one nut video? The one nut story? Yeah? Alright, we'll leave it in there.